All right, guys. So I hope you are doing okay. Today we're going to start with lesson number 4. You know, last time we went through lesson number 3 and the half of lesson number 4. So this is what we're going to cover today, lesson number 4 completely. So last time we went through, it was, let me see, the grammar part in lesson number 4 that was must, have to, and should. We're talking about obligations. Well, today we're going to do like the same. We're going to review it, and then we're going to go with the second part that is going to be used to and would. All right. So this is how the class is going to be lectured today, and that's it, right? Hey, all of you are looking good. You're looking good. All right. So let's get started, guys. Let me see right over here.
Teacher,
Yes, you can
I'm
turn.
here. Sorry, I have had problems with my internet.
All right, don't worry, it's okay. Hey guys, you can turn the camera off if you want to now. It was just for the introduction, right? So go ahead. I told you that was going to be just a couple, very quickly. I can use it here. Hang on. So as I said today, guys, we are going to start with the okay, we're going to start with actually we're going to cover all of this. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
Yes.
Yes.
So last time we covered should, ought to, right? We covered the have to, have got to, and must. But this time we're gonna see all of this in this slide presentation, right? We're going to cover all modal verbs because I want to teach you. I want you to know everything about them. So let's get started now. So let's see. This is how we start. Take a look. And we have our first modal verb. Our first modal verb is going to be should. So we have this here. Take a look. We have this picture. In this picture, we have trash. And in the example, we have somebody should clean up this mess. Somebody should clean up this mess, right? So this is our first modal verb, and we use should to talk about recommendation. We had already spoken about this last time. But well, to begin, we're going to start with the family of poder, right? The family of can. This is the family we have in here. Can, could, may, might. So to start, we're gonna have this one, can. You already know how to use it. You already know what it means to. The same with could, may, or might. You know that they all mean poder. All of these modal verbs mean poder. Either poder or poderia, right? But they mean something similar. The intention is basically the same. The meaning is basically the same. The intention could be a little different. So let's start with the first example right here. We have, take a look. Inga can play the violin. Now we're using can to talk about abilities, right? Say can play the violin, an ability to do something. In letter B, we have could, like they couldn't arrive on time. Again, could used to talk about abilities, but this time not in the present as can, but in the past, right? And right over here we have may. May, as we had already spoken last time, we use it for possibilities, right? Something that we say in the present and may take place in the future. Same thing with might, but there is a difference between them. Take a look at the example. The sample is just the same. It might be a nice day it might be a nice day tomorrow, and it might be a nice day tomorrow. It may be and it might be. What do you think is the difference, guys? Let me ask you. What do you think is the difference between letter C and letter D? It may be and it might be. What do you think is the difference between those two? Can you tell me? Can you remind me? Can somebody tell me about it? What is the difference between maybe and might be? These two sentences, which are basically the same, take a look, but they just have like the difference between them is this. But is there any other difference? What do you
Sure.
think? Yes.
And we have May. The
Mm-hmm.
I can say that May is more grounded to reality, and it's a possibility that
Yes.
that we're going to have a nice day tomorrow, but because maybe today it's a good day too, and it can be the same the next day. But if we talk about might, um, is that you don't know if really it's going to be a good day, because
Okay.
you don't know the future,
All right. So
and maybe the weather uh, is very crazy. I don't know.
okay, you have an idea, Miss Valeria. Very good. So take a look. I'm going to repeat to you because this is something we did last time. I think you must remember about it. Now, but you were very close. Now remember last time I gave you like percentage. You're right, but I gave you percentage. I told you that maybe maybe is like either the 80 or the 90% of the possibility, right? Possibility, the 90% of the possibility. But what happens with might? This means that you are fairly sure, actually you are very sure about this, that tomorrow is going to be a nice day, because maybe today was, and because today was a nice day, tomorrow may be a nice day too, as you were saying, Ms. Valeria. But we also have might. In the case of might, I told you that might is like either the 30, the 20, or the 10% of the possibility, right? Which means that here in the first one, you see may, you're sure, and here in the last one or in the second one, you see might, you are not very sure about it. So something similar to what you said, Miss Valeria, but this I am just giving you like, you know, percentage of how to easily recognize when to use may and when to use might. This was something we covered in lesson number 3, remember? I think you did. I think you do actually.
Yes, teacher.
So let's continue. This is the family of can. So can for abilities, could for abilities, and may and might for possibilities. So far, I think it's clear. So far, we have no questions. I'm just showing you what the modal verbs are. This is the first group of modal verbs that we have. So let's continue. The second group of modal verbs are should, had better, must, will, and would. Now, last time I said that we were going to speak about this, and today we will, right? And also, we're going to speak about all of them. So let's see the first one. Um, Example E, it says Inga should go inside. Again, we use should to talk about recommendations, right? To give advice. Had better. Now, had better is something similar in meaning to should. It can be debería, why not? However, this is not exactly a recommendation. Let me explain to you better. When we use should, when we recommend something, somebody to someone, when we want to give recommendation to a person, we normally say, the person we're giving the recommendation to has two options. The person can take my recommendation or cannot take my recommendation. It is not mandatory. It is not obligatory to take my recommendation because it's just a recommendation, right? In the case of had better, it is a recommendation, but this recommendation becomes more like a warning. I forgot the word in Spanish. Can somebody tell me what warning means in Spanish? Warning.
Advertencia.
Advertencia.
Thank you. All right. Advertencia. When we use had better, it becomes more a warning, even though we can say it's also used to give advice. But the problem is that when you use had better, you don't have like, let me explain. Like you don't have two options. You just have one option. You take it. I mean, you take my recommendation or you take my recommendations, right? You don't have no more options. Why? Because normally, if you just don't take the recommendation and you do, I mean, you don't take the recommendation, there might be something bad happening afterward in consequence to it. I will explain to you later on in a better form with examples. So don't worry so far. I just wanted to let you know that this is also used for recommendations in case like recommendations that are more like warnings. In the case of must, I told you that we use it for obligations and sometimes necessity as well. So take a look. He must be gentle with his cat. Normal, maybe necessity, maybe, yeah, maybe necessity. Take about here, will. Well, you know, will, I mean, we use the future, right? They will attend the recital. Good. When you're very sure about something, when you just made the decision, remember? We did it last time. And would. Things like, I
Teacher,
would like to meet her. Yes, miss.
can you repeat had better go?
Had better,
Had
oh yes.
better. Yes.
In case of had better right here, the thing, I mean, the meaning of had better, I don't want you to learn this modal verb or this expression as two divided words. No, just learn this expression as an expression itself, right? No, as a two divided word. Now, what happens? Had better means in Spanish something like debería, more or less, or es mejor que, right? We have those two possible translations into Spanish, debería o es mejor que. But the difference between this should, debería, and this had better is that when you use should, the person you are giving the recommendation to has two options: taking the recommendation or not taking the recommendation, right? Because it's not mandatory, it's not obligatory. In the case of had better, you just have one option: taking the recommendation. Because if you don't take the recommendation, normally, if you don't take the recommendation, there is going to be a bad result, because we use this more to talk about warnings, right? And I will explain to you later on. So this is better, had better. That's what it means, right? Es mejor que, in this case, you had better go inside. Es mejor que entres.
Teacher,
Yeah.
can I say that should I can use with a friend, and had better I can use to my son, maybe.
Maybe, but you can use had better and should with anyone, right? The thing is that what makes them different maybe is the situation. I will explain to you in a minute. Don't worry about it. When we get, because we're going to see all of them, one by one. So when we have the time, or when it's the turn of had better, you're going to see the difference there and the examples, and you're going to understand even better. But don't worry, I'm just showing you the modal verbs. Now, what these modal verbs have in common? All they have in common is that, can, could, should, must, would, will, had better, may, might, is that they don't use to. They are never followed by to. So you cannot say something like, Inga can to play violin, because this is a modal verb. And the general rule says that modal verbs don't use to. So we have actually not the auxiliary verb. I forgot it here. I made a mistake. It's the modal verb plus the simple form of the verb. The verb without to, with no to in between to connect them, right? We don't need it. So for example, in the case of the S, you know that in the third person, normally the simple form of the verb, we add S. We don't have to do it either. So this is not possible, because we're supposed to use the base form, the form you find in the dictionary. So Inga can play the violin. I mean, that's incorrect. It's not possible. Instead, we say Inga can play without S. No matter if we are talking about the third person, can tells me that I have to use the simple form of the verb. In the case of the past, remember that when we speak in the past and we want to use regular verbs or irregular verbs, we use ed or d depending on the verb, right? Or change complete, I mean, the whole verb depending if it's regular or irregular. In this case, take a look, played, I mean, I cannot use this. First, because can is in the present. And second, because it says the rule that after the modal verb, I am not able to use the past form or a conjugated version of the verb, only the simple form. I repeat, the one you use, I mean, you find in the dictionary. What about the one in ing? You cannot use the one in ing either. Like, Inga can play in the violin? No, that's impossible. So with can, we can only use the simple form. I think that's completely clear. Is it? Is that clear, everything? Is everything clear here?
Yes.
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 All right, that's great. Now, something else you gotta take into account. So what they have in similar is that they don't use to. That's the thing. Now we are going to another group of modal verbs. Actually, these two, I had already told you that I don't consider them modal verbs exactly. I call them semi-modals. Why semi-modals? Because they can be conjugated. Take a look. Have and has. And modal verbs, they cannot be conjugated. All right? Now, this is a modal verb, ought to, and last time I told you what it meant, but we're going to review it again. So what do they have here in common? What, yes, all of this, modal verbs or semi-modal verbs, let's call them all modals. What do they have in common? The common is that all of them finish in to, and to, have to, have got to, and ought to. So as we have all of this, again, we have the simple form of the verb, like the infinitive form. Like in the example, you have to eat something, or you have got to be on time. Sorry, he has got to be on time, and it ought to be fun. Again, all of them have in common that they are using to plus the simple form of the verb. Now remember that have to means tener que in Spanish. Has got to means the same, exactly the same. This is just the American version, and this is the British version. And ought to is the same than this word that we have here, should, right? Debería and ought to, the same thing, right? I think you have no questions so far. Any question? Yes, no, no, yes?
No.
Okay, then let's continue. We have here some practice. Let's practice. Now, which one has to and which one doesn't have to? Now, take a look at this sentence. Do we use to or not? She has learned how to skate. Yes, right? We use to because have always goes with to. She has to learn how to skate. Good. How about this one? She to or not to?
No, to.
No to.
Yes, no to. So she might learn how to skate.
How to skate.
Great. How about this one? Should to or no to?
No.
All right.
No
So like this, she should learn how to skate. So this is easy, right? Because we know how to use them. Now, let's start speaking about can, like abilities. Now we have 10 minutes before the first, before we finish with the first session. So take a look. We use can to talk about this, to express ability. You know that, right? We use can and also could to express ability. So I can believe it. That's what this girl actually is thinking. So we have more examples here. Take a look at this picture. We have 3 dolphins. You know, dolphins are great animals, and actually, we have here the example. Dolphins can jump very high. Now, is this an ability of them? As you can see, you know that they are strong enough to jump very high in the air, right? So take a look, jump, they have the ability to jump. We use can for showing ability. Now, we also have another thing, you know that they are animals and they live in the sea, right? So they can swim long distances. This is an ability that they have. Now, can you swim long distances? No, you can't, right? Because we are not living in the sea. Actually, we live on. We can say something like we can walk long distances. That's what we can do, right? But we can't swim long distances. Anyways, now another thing, they can be taught fancy tricks. You know that the dolphins are very intelligent animals, right? And as they are intelligent, they can be easily taught tricks. So what happens with can? We're using can to talk about ability in the present, like they can jump and they can swim. And also to talk about ability in the future. I mean, something that happens now, but that may show up in the future, right? Like in this example, maybe imagine me, I am teaching the dolphins some fancy tricks now, but they are not going to learn the tricks straight away. I mean, right now. They may learn them in the future, right? Like some days or some weeks and some months afterwards, I have taught them, right? So they can be taught fancy tricks. Can to talk about ability in the present and the future as well. Now, this was the affirmative form. What about the negative form? When we use the negative form, we have this here. Take a look at the man. The man right here says that, I mean, he's having problems. Sorry, the man right here is having problems with his computer. He doesn't know whether he can fix it or not. But the thing is that when we use the negative form, we are also expressing ability. But when we use the negative, we are expressing actually disability. I mean, something I cannot do, something I don't have the ability to do, right? So I can't fix this computer. I cannot fix this computer.
Daniel.
Can you see it now? Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me, guys? Yes or no?
Yes.
All right, great. All right, don't worry. Let me do something for a second. Hang on. I'll do it again. Okay. So, let me see here. Mute everyone. Okay, so I'm going to repeat this again. I cannot fix this computer. I cannot fix a computer, and I can't fix this computer. Now, these are three different ways of making the negative form of can. All right, we have three different versions. Now, this version right here, right? This version right here, the first one is the contracted one. You know, when we have the contraction. This second version, we normally use it. I mean, it's not very common. Like you cannot, I mean, you don't know whether, I mean, like if you're using it or not when you're speaking, because it sounds similar to the next one, to the last one, cannot. But we use this one merely for writing. When you're writing a formal paper, you can use cannot altogether, right? It's possible. And in the case of the last one, cannot, is just like the same as can't, but the difference between can't and cannot is that this is like normal, natural. And this one right here, we use it to talk, I mean, to give emphasis, to sound emphatic at the moment of saying something, right? So I can say, I can't fix this computer, and it sounds normal. But if I want to be emphatic that I just can't fix fix this computer, I use it separately to be emphatic. So I cannot fix this computer. It sounds more like emphatic, right? This is something you gotta take into account, guys. All right, I'm going to continue giving you like extra examples. As I told you, we have these 3 negative forms of can. Now, how about this part right here? Now take a look. Now we were using can. Now we're going to use could. Now, when we were in college, we could play chess for hours. When we were in college, we could play chess for hours. What does it mean? It means that when they were in college, they had a lot of free time. So they had, I mean, the space, they were able to play chess for hours, right? Because they had time. So,
Mister,
yes.
Mister, the could is like the polite form to can.
Yes and no. Now we are talking about ability, right? And when we talk about ability, could is just the past form of can, right? So we use could for the past tense, and we use can for the present tense. I repeat, when we speak about ability, because if we are speaking about something different, then could is what you are saying, like more formal. But we are going to get there in some time, right? So far, could is the past of can, and we use it for the past simple, all right? Guys, the session may log off anytime. So if it gets log off, I'm going to give you 5 minutes break, all right? And after those 5 minutes are over, we get back to work straight away, all right? Let's continue until it gets log off. So take a look at this part. I couldn't play chess in graduate school. I had to study all the time. This example is just the negative part of this one using couldn't, right? You have 2 forms, could not and couldn't, the contracted form. As for couldn't, I told you in this case that could was ability in the past, right? But if I use couldn't, happens the same thing that can't with a negative form. With can't, the ability became disability. And with could and couldn't, when we use couldn't, the ability again in the past become disability in the past, right? So I wasn't able, I didn't have the ability to do it in the past. That's what couldn't play means right here. So this is how we get the 2 versions. Again, this is the natural version, the normal version, and this is the emphatic version in case you want to sound emphatic, or in case you want to be kind of emphatic too. When you say your stuff by using any of these 2, I mean, could or could not, I mean, couldn't or could not in any of these sentences referring to ability. Now let's practice before we get logged off. So he is always upset when can or can. Remember something. What do you think?
Can't.
Yes, why not? Very good. Can't, that's great. How about the next one? He's showing disability. How about this one? A dolphin run, but it jump.
Can't run.
Can't run,
but it can jump.
Very good, right? Can't run, but it can jump. That's great. How